Kelsey. Now this whole Tory Lanez situation is funny, right? Because this bodyguard that never spoke before is now coming out to speak. And it seems like Tory is still fighting, trying to get out of jail, bro. It's crazy, right? It says Tory Lanez bodyguard gives his affidavit. Now here's the affidavit. My name is Jaquan Smith. Whatever, my age, I am over the age of 18, whatever. I was a driver and bodyguard of Mr. Daystar Peterson, who is better known as Tory Lanez, in July of 2020. Mr. Peterson has been known to me for 7 years. At the time of the incident, I have worked for Mr. Peterson for 3 years. He has not only been my employer, but I also consider him to be a close personal friend. On July 12, 2020, I was asked to drive Mr. Peterson to the home of Kylie Jenner, where Mrs. Megan P and Kelsey Harris were present. Mr. Peterson was at Mrs. Jenner's home for approximately 2 hours, and I received a call to come pick Miss P and Miss Harris up. Now, this was at the time when Tory Lanez, which it sounds crazy, right? Because it's weird, right? Because it seems like Meg wanted to leave, right? Meg and her friend wanted to leave. Tory Lanez was like, nah, yo, I'm staying here. I'm about to tap Kylie. You feel me? Like, I'm about to tap Kylie. So, you know, he called the driver to pick Megan and her friend up. Miss P and Miss Harris and myself left Miss Jenner's home, but I was asked by Miss P to return because she stated that she had forgotten his shoe. Now, this is when everything just went sour, right? Because it's funny to me because Megan Thee Stallion already knew what was popping, right? She was leaving. She was going to leave this motherfucker there alone. The problem is that it's Kylie, so I'm pretty sure Megan didn't want to make a scene at Kylie's house, and that is why she probably didn't say nothing at the moment that they were leaving. But I guess halfway there, she's like, oh, hell no. I am not alley-ooping this nigga to be able to tap Kylie. Because supposedly the only reason why Tory Lanez had pulled up to Kylie's house in the first place was because Megan Thee Stallion was the one that called them. You know what I'm saying? When we arrived at Miss Jenner's home at the time, Miss Harris stayed in the car while Miss P exited. All right, so Megan Thee Stallion's friend stayed in the car. Megan Thee Stallion got out of the car. She's like, I'm about to go get this motherfucker, see what he doing. Now it says Miss P did not enter the home at this time as she went around the back at the pool area where Mr. Peterson was located. Both Miss P and Mr. Peterson returned to the car after a few minutes. She went to get him. She didn't go get no fucking shoe. Miss P was bickering, but I am unsure of the exact words she was saying. She seemed upset. The four of us left Miss Jenner's residence. As I began to drive, Miss P started to fight with Mr. Peterson. They were going back and forth. I remember Mr. Peterson saying Miss P. Well, Tory Lanez saying to Megan Thee Stallion that he was going to tell Megan Thee Stallion's friend, which was Kelsey, what was going on. And I guess this is when the whole commotion started, because this is when Tory Lanez was like, yeah, you keep fucking with me, I'm going to tell you what's pop. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Tory was tapping Kelsey and hitting Megan at the same time. So, it says here, I do not remember what street we were on, but Miss P asked me to stop the vehicle. So, Megan's like, stop the car. I did as she asked. And Miss P went to sit on a nearby bus stop. Mr. Peterson went and spoke with Miss P. So I mean, at this point, Tory Lanez is like, she gets out of the car. Tory Lanez is, I guess, trying to convince her to get back in the car. After about 2 minutes, they returned to the car, so he convinced her, and I began driving again. Now Megan Thee Stallion started arguing again, and her friend Kelsey asked what was going on. Tory Lanez told her that Megan Thee Stallion had been dating. Him and Megan Thee Stallion have been dating intimately. And this is when everything got crazy, right? Because now, I don't know how Kelsey didn't know that supposedly Tory Lanez was fucking with Megan Thee Stallion. So now Miss Harris was upset, which is Kelsey, by this, as she and Mr. Peterson had been dating in the same manner prior to any relationship with Miss P. Miss P and Miss Harris began fighting. So this is when shit got crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess This is what Tory Lanez should have never done. You know what I'm saying? He should have took whatever Megan Thee Stallion was saying to him to the chin and kept it chucking. You know what I'm saying? We all know Megan Thee Stallion was definitely probably, this is what the driver is not saying. You know what I'm saying? Well, I want to know, what was Megan Thee Stallion saying to Tory that got Tory so mad for him to tell Megan, like, yo, I'm fucking your friend. And then the argument starts between them. Now it says here, let's see. So after they began fighting, the driver says, I pulled over to stop them. Miss Pete and Miss Harris both got out of the vehicle and continued to fight, both verbally and physically. I broke up the fight and was pulling Miss Pete toward the back of the car. I saw Miss Harris with a gun in her hand. Nah, Kelsey had the blicky in her hand. Mr. Peterson ran from behind Miss Pete and myself towards Miss Harris. Mr. P and Miss Harris began struggling as Mr. Peterson tried to unarm Miss Harris. I was still pulling Miss Pete and did not see who shot the weapon. I was lucky I was not harmed, and in my opinion, Miss P was also fortunate. The whole incident happened so quickly within just a couple of minutes. Now it says here, I saw Miss Harris with the gun in her hand. Mr. Peterson ran from behind Miss Pete and myself towards Miss Harris. Mr. Peterson and Miss Harris began struggling as Mr. Peterson tried to unarm Miss Harris. I was still pulling Miss Pete and did not see who shot the weapon. I was lucky I was not harmed. Okay, so this was the same thing. I wanted to present this evidence during Mr. Peterson's trial, but was prevented from doing so as the district attorney was not ready to cross-examine me. Damn, get him out of here! Damn, bro. And later, they did not call me due to the holidays and the court schedule. I believe I should have been allowed to present this evidence at trial. Sheesh. This is insane what we just read here, because now this completely changes everything, right? Now we know exactly, because we all questioned, well, why, we always had questions, right? Like, why was the gun under Tory Lanez's seat when the cops pulled him over? And the honest truth to that is that now we know. Obviously, Kelsey pulled out the blicky. We don't know what she was gonna do. Maybe she was trying to scare Megan. Maybe she was just trying to like fire some shots to get, Megan paranoid. But the whole thing is that Tory Lanez, when he seen Kelsey grab the blicky, he quickly ran up behind her as his bodyguards holding Megan and tried to disarm her. I guess when they started tussling back and forth, the gun went off. It's sad because Tory Lanez shouldn't be in jail. Kelsey should be in jail. Because if the gun was pulled out by Kelsey and Tory Lanez and her struggling for the gun, and a gunshot goes off, the gun was pulled out by Kelsey. So the only reason why the gunshot went off was because she pulled out the gun. Now the problem is that it seems like Tory Lanez is backed up against the wall. And the reason why I say Tory Lanez is backed up against a wall is because I believe that he's not supposed to have possession of a gun. So even though the gun was fired by whoever was fired, technically at some point, Tory Lanez had to have possession of the gun because it was under his seat. But I guess we'll never know there, right? Tory Lanez is not going to come home, bro. I think this shit's over. I think, he's going to serve his time, and it is what it is. It is going to be what it is. Can he come home sooner? Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe in a couple years, but they're going to make him do a couple years before he's able to even come home on some chill shit. I'm going to be honest.